To the cloud.
Yes, it's recording to the cloud. And if you can hear me and see me and hear me, you don't even know what day it is because you're not watching this live. You are on recording. I'm B Minor.
I'm the X Factor.
And we're here. It's a great day. Shirt says it. Blessed to ball.
Ooh,
Bless the ball every day. Blessed. Here we are. I am so blessed and so thankful to have Pat with us today. Curran.
Yes.
Pat Curran. Been following you for a while, Pat. Checking out your stuff on Twitter. Love what you're doing. Love what you're about. You're the co-founder of Curran Media. Is that right?
Yep.
And is it your brother?
My brother, my baby bro, yeah.
Little bro and you started a business, so we're going to hear about that. Pont, he was also a walk-on.
Oh, he's one of us. I like you already.
But not once. Twice.
Yeah, technically twice, yeah.
Now, elaborate on that a little bit.
Let's get right to it. Let's hear this story, Pat.
Sure. So I was a football player, so I'm not a basketball guy like you guys. I played football. I walked on at Bowling Green in the early 2000s. So Urban Meyer was my first head coach.
Oh.
Not a bad coaching staff. So we're talking small Bowling Green. My DB coaches, 2 of them have been NFL head coaches. Another one, and then like you look at the BCS head coach, it's been crazy the amount of talent we had, starting with Urban Meyer and then on down. So I played there 02, 03, 04. I quit as a redshirt sophomore. Just quit like 8 games in. Wasn't feeling what was going on. So, and I stopped playing football. So that was 2004. I ended up sticking around, finishing my degree 06. I actually coached football in 07 at Oberlin College. And then I was training high school athletes in 08, the spring of 08. And we were doing this showcase, and it was only D2, D3 guys that were coming to watch the kids. And, they had a couple of coaches said they had some scholarships left over. And I was like, I bet you I still got some eligibility. Well, I called the NCAA the next day. I did have eligibility left. I had 1 semester to play D2 ball, or D2 or D3. And so I actually participated in this camp. We were trying to help get college coaches to see our high school kids with. So I went and I looked like trash. I had worked out for somebody who works out, but not for an athlete trying to compete at a high level. And my footwork was bad. And this was either late April or early May of 08. And I had a couple of schools who were like, yeah, we'll talk to the guy. I think it was more like as a favor to the guy who was running our deal. And so I went and talked to a couple of different places. I actually went to Ashland, where I ended up playing the D2, and I went and I watched, and I was like, I can play here. Like, I know I'm better than these guys. What I didn't know is the two of the starters weren't there that day. They didn't tell me that, but I was watching a spring practice. So anyway, I ended up choosing to go on at Ashland. I walk on technically. It was June 21st. By August 6th, when we started camp, they'd already given me a scholarship. So I did technically make the move to walk on, but I was a full scholarship guy by the beginning of the season.
So you literally lived the walk-on dream. Every walk-on dreams of getting that call up for the scholarship, and that is, dude.
I don't know what it's like. I'll never know what it was like.
Yeah. It's what's great. Those are my favorite videos on social when the team calls out. Because I don't know what you guys' experience has been like. Where I was, how we were, you're just different. You're not a part of the team as much in certain instances. We got shittier equipment. We got we played Ohio State my sophomore year, and it was like, we're bringing everybody, all the scholarship guys. And we were like, wait, that's not everybody. So 7 or 8 of us went into the office and talked to coach, and he was like, I didn't even think about it. So it was just like you were almost a second class citizen. This was early 2000s Bowling Green football. I know it's not like that everywhere, but I know it's like that a lot of places as well. So it's like you were different, and that to be able to go to a place like Ashland where I became a scholarship player and a starter day one was obviously a much needed change for me.
It was similar at Portland. I felt like there was kind of a divide, but it was still, I was doing a little bit as a freshman, but all the freshmen were carrying bags. And then sophomore year, I kind of advanced to where the freshman scholarship guys were carrying bags instead of me as a sophomore, the training kit, med kit, that type of stuff. But how do you feel, Pont, now as a current walk-on?
I'll say over here, man, it's literally sunshine and rainbows. Like, I'm not even exaggerating that. Like, we're pretty much all in the same boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's
Yeah.
really
How
different.
many
Everybody's
walk-ons do
pretty
you
on the
guys
same boat.
carry?
Right now, we got 4. My senior,
How many started? How many started as how many are in their 4th year as a walk-on? Is there?
Just me and one other guy. Me and Jason, who is the other person who made Mississippi do. We're the only
Agent
2.
Uno?
Agente Uno.
Agente Uno. C. C.
Yep, we're the only.
C.
We're the only 4 people or 4-year walk-ons currently, which is awesome. You know, like that's not for a walk-on to go 4 years. Like I've seen a lot of walk-ons come in the program and like, you know, they're not here anymore. They're at other schools or they graduated or whatnot. So yeah, 4-year walk-on, that's a great feeling.
That's awesome.
And I get it. Like for me, it was it never really bothered me. It never did, except when it became a thing where a lot of the scholarship guys, I knew my freshman year I wasn't good enough. I knew my redshirt freshman year I probably wasn't good enough either, but maybe could have played some special team type stuff. But that last year as a sophomore, and then all the scholarships guys are like, you should be playing and you should be doing this, and just because you're a walk-on and just because you're this and that. So that's when it really got in my head. Probably the scholarship guys get in my head was like, oh, okay, I get why I'm not playing now.
But there is kind of a mentality of, oh, you're a walk-on, you must not be very good. And it's like, they don't take walk-ons that are really bad.
Well, I mean, some places they do for sure. And they got to. I mean, like at Ashland at D2, we took 1 year when I was coaching there, because I coached there for 2 years after as a GA. We took 97 kids. And a lot of those people are just paying salaries, people on campus.
True. I feel you. I coached D3 basketball where we have 42 guys in our program right now.
Yeah, and you got to do stuff like that sometimes.
Budget helps the budget.
Yep, no doubt.
But you're also doing a lot now with, tell us a little bit about your media company, kind of how you got started and how you're kind of pivoting with the new legislation that's coming down.
Yeah, so fast forward, so I that was 07 or 08 I played, and then I coached in 9-10 at Ashland as a GA, and then I coached high school for a couple of years. And then my brother and I started our first companies, which were basically helping high school athletes get recruited into playing college. And, you know, not the elites, the D2s, the D3s, the D1 tweener types, and transitioned to about 5 years ago. And it all kind of evolved, but it's a long story, blah, blah, blah. Don't need to go with it. But about 5 years ago, we were working on big marketing and branding campaigns with media companies. So like USA Today, did some stuff with UFC, CBS Sports, Max Preps. And in doing so, a lot of times we worked with athletes, and some of these were paid components for athletes. And we saw a lot of athletes fumble the things they were trying to do. So we transitioned to work with athletes a couple years ago on basically what is now known in the college world as name, image, likeness. At the time, we're only working with pros, and that's, you know, launching YouTube channels, Twitch, merchandise, Instagram partnerships, all this stuff outside of an NBA, WNBA, NFL, UFC contract, that sort of deal. So when all this name, image, likeness legislation came about, really came about in late April, starting in May, we really wanted to be at the forefront of this. And so we've talked to probably 70 different teams about educating them on what's going to happen, what can you do now, and really start building a brand now, because 99.9% of athletes who go through college aren't making $1 in the pros. But you have these huge names, these huge platforms, or even if you don't have a huge name and a huge platform, if you're someone like me, there's so many opportunities to create businesses to start either making money today or start building for what's going to happen here in the future. So that's what we've really focused the last, where we at? We're in December, 7, 8 months on, and really made a push for is to help college athletes understand their value, understand who they have value to, and understand how to take advantage of that.
I love that. It's so powerful because a lot of people need that guidance, and, you know, they know that they want to do something big and they want to do big things going forward, but maybe they won't necessarily play professionally. So that's really important to give them that education. Now, for people who are in college now, you know, since everything's not really going into effect until, you know, 2021, but probably the next season is what we're hearing. You know, what would you recommend for them now?
Well, that doesn't even matter to me. Like, that's just about, you'll just be able to make dollars then. But today, so how many followers you got? Thousands, right? 6,000, 7,000?
9 on Instagram. Between everything, like 30.
Okay, so 30,000. That has a value to it. But let's say, so today is December, whatever it is. And now when it opens up in July, from 30, you go to 70,000. That obviously has more value. So you can start building out and being different and showcasing personality and start to build a brand today. And you should be, because even at a place like where you're at, elite basketball, how many guys get drafted every year?
Usually one we
Right.
usually get one guy.
Right. Now, if you're a scholarship guy going there, you think you're going to play in the, you know, you're going to play in the NBA, right? Now, outsiders know that that's not the case. And maybe some people make some money overseas and some different opportunities, but more so than that is the opportunities to start creating now. So yeah, can you not make money till probably this summer? We'll know for sure January 31st is when everything gets passed, and we'll know specifics, but you can start working on the marketing branding piece today. If you look at athletes across the country, I said this, I said this to you, Brant, when we talked on the phone a couple weeks ago, is 99.9% of athletes post the same damn thing. It's a picture or video of them in or at practice, a picture or video of them in a game, a picture or video of them with their family, and a picture or video of them stunting in whatever their thing is. So everyone looks the same. So for me, it's about how can you start creating and being different than all of your other people that are on like the same-ish type playing field. Yeah, okay, you're a good basketball player. Great, cool. Why should I be more invested in you as a DePaul? I was going to say DuPont, DePaul basketball player versus a Bowling Green basketball player, then a blah, blah, blah. If you're not Zion Williamson and it's just the craziness, like why should I be invested in you? So start today creating different opportunities, creating a podcast like you're doing right now. I mean, think about if like Trevor Lawrence, a lot of what I'm doing is in the football space right now. Think if Trevor Lawrence started a podcast, it would probably be the #1 podcast trending today, right?
For sure.
Because and then he would just start to have all these different people on, former Clemson players, he could probably get the Mannings on. He could probably get the top names in all the sports across the country just because of who he is. And then he'd have these great conversations. He'd be able to get a bunch of views. If he could get paid, he could start selling brand partnerships. And, you know, it's just a whole big ecosystem you could start building now. I think about like a Johnny Manziel, who would have been a gazillionaire in college, went to the pros and played 3 years or whatever. You know, there's so many instances like that where you have a huge, massive name, you've got all this buzz in college, and then you go to the pros and, you know, the opportunities just aren't what they were in college, or you get hurt or whatever happens. So building now, I think, is so massively important.
And I think you are, I think by having a podcast with B Minor, who has a little more age on you, not going to say wisdom because you're a sharp young man, but you getting your name out there, recording an album, recording a song. Let's do this real quick.
Where's the music video though?
Coming soon.
Okay.
I won't say too much, but it's in the works.
Good.
It's in the works. He's working on it, but I love it, man. So you're already producing content. We're episode 40. That's pretty good to have that type of consistency. And like I always talk about pushing over the refrigerator, we just got to keep going, keep pushing, and getting great guests like you, Pat, helps.
Oh, thank you.
Immensely.
I mean, listen, you could probably DM a gazillion people and say, hey, let's talk about XYZ, and get a lot of people to do it. I saw, I can't remember the name. Where is he at? I just saw current college basketball player had Jay Billis on his podcast last week. I think it was episode 1 or 2.
There you go.
And
That's
it's like
big time.
Jay Billis is one of the biggest, if not the biggest name around college basketball, right? And you get Jay Billis on your podcast. I saw it because I follow Jay Billis and he retweeted it. So there you go. Like that, but that's the type of stuff you get when you're a college athlete. You can get into those different positions to talk to these people. And for me, as a 37-year-old who has no direct connection to Jay Billis, probably a lot tougher than athlete X who's playing at big school Y,
The ask is easier when you're a student. Hey, can I get 15 minutes of your time to pick your brain? Yes. You as a student will get meetings that me as a 37-year-old won't get.
No doubt.
100%. Then it's all about utilizing your resources. Are you going to do it, or are you just going to let that slip?
Yeah. we're starting to see. I've seen a handful of college athletes, I think, do a pretty good job of starting to create YouTube channels, starting to create. I've seen a handful of podcasts now, but there's still so much to be done. Like when I follow, because I'm obviously knee deep in all this name, image, likeness stuff, and I see all these schools and they're throwing out all this window dressing and come here and build your brand and do this and do that. And I know for a fact most of these places, the coaches don't really even know what that means, like to build a brand. They know, all right, we can help you share content. You can come here and you play at DePaul or Duke or wherever, and you're going to build a brand. Your brand's going to be built, I should say, because you come to this school and play. Yeah, that all has its own, it all makes sense and it has some warrant to it. But like teaching an actual person to then go out and do their own thing is a whole nother world. I think that's the most important part in all this.
I think you're right. But I also love that you talk about it's not just the point guard at Duke that can benefit from this.
No, that's the easy one. I said this before. I don't know if I said this to you when I was talking, but when I quit as a sophomore, I was the 5th corner, and I 100% could have been making money off my name, image, likeness. I could have been selling footwork programs to high school students in Northeast Ohio, or I could have been running camps and clinics, and I could have my name in Northeast Ohio, I wasn't like an elite guy, but my name, a lot of people knew. So I 100% could have been doing stuff like that. My brother and I could have been doing it together, who's a year younger than me and also went to Bowling Green after us. And a lot of people knew the Curran name, our last name. We could have been building around this. And I think that when we've talked to coaches, we always say that too. It's not, yeah, you've got your elite 1, 2 on a basketball team, 3, depending on where you're at. But this is a 1 through 15 type deal. Like there's opportunities to build. Can you be an analyst? Can you start a podcast? Can you start doing these other things that aren't typically thought of when we're talking around name, image, likeness, to start using this huge platform of being a college athlete? If you're a D3 player, I mean, there's opportunities there. It doesn't, to me, it's across the board. There's opportunities if you want to take advantage of them.
I think it is about the kid too, teaching them how to carry that over into life. And like you said, you can start right now. You don't have to wait until you can monetize it. And that's what we've been working on with the X Factor is it's not, he can't be paid yet, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned because soon he's building the following. You're building the following, Pont, and you'll be able to and you never know. That's not why you're nice to people, but you never know when that's going to come back and help you. If you're genuine to everybody and you give people time and respect and treat them right, you never know what's going to happen.
And listen, they want to, as I say, a brand wants to get to your market. That's why they pay you. They want to get to your market. They want to either show you as like, hey, we work with this person, or they want you to say, hey, I work with this company, buy their stuff. That's why brands want to work with you. So that's the whole brand partnership type deal. This is the only time, or this is the first time ever, I should say, the first time ever that brands have been able to go through 18 to 22-year-olds on campus to get to other 18 to 22-year-olds on campus from an athlete perspective. Sure, they could have gone through like the student council or the young Republicans or Democrats or what, they could have done that stuff. But the faces of campus are the athletes on campus, right? So this is the first time these brands can go through these guys. So that's a ton of value on that end too, is just thinking from that perspective. It's not just like, oh, cool, I can work with some brands and let me wait for them to come to me. You can start showcasing that type of energy and that type of benefit to the brands too.
And I think the one I heard the other day was the first Chinese-born football player. You heard that interview?
I love that.
Loved it.
Jackson He.
And he talked, the first thing he did was, it's not me out there, it's my linemen. I call these guys the Great Wall. And he's just got that personality that's like, man, I want that guy on my team. I want that guy marketing for me.
I would hire him today.
Right? Just off that one interview and his perspective and attitude and energy.
I would love to work with Jackson He to be able to show. I bet he has no idea how valuable he is right now. The first ever Chinese-born American football player is a big damn deal. I saw when I just looking at stuff, I saw there was, I can't think of his actual name, but I've seen his Netflix special. His Instagram is @funnyasianguy, super funny. So it's comedian. You don't see comedians talking about college athletes ever. There's actors. There's all of these people I've seen across social media talking about him specifically because he's Chinese or because he's Asian, period, and being an American football player. It's a big damn deal. Now, he could start building so much from this. I would imagine he probably has no clue how valuable all this really is, though.
I know when I was working for the Blazers, I had an internship in college. We had a player from South Korea. His name Ha-Sun Jin. And we had more hits on our website from Asia than we did North America when we signed Ha-Sun Jin. And so I put together a whole presentation about how popular basketball is in Asia and how we need to get more time with a translator. We need to get more money and more resources and that's what Jackson could be doing, is finding a brand that wants to market to college football players. It's a Chinese brand, and he's a pioneer. He needs to think about that. He is a pioneer in this movement.
Well, no doubt he's that type of person, and he made history. Just like last week or 2 weeks ago, Sarah Fuller, the soccer player at Vanderbilt turned football player, who came in was as a kicker in the first game. All she did was kick. Not all she did. I shouldn't say that, but she kicked off one time, and then in the second game came in and made extra points. The first ever female to score in an FBS game, and that's such a massive deal. And her social media has skyrocketed. She's at from a couple thousand. I want to say she was at 180 or something last I checked.
That is huge. Good
170, 175 in 2 weeks. And the story of it was, I don't know if you guys know the actual story behind it, but they got the Vandy kicking units, all the kickers and punters went up. They got ravaged by COVID. So they had nobody who could kick. They had to have her. So on this word, the football coach called the soccer coach. They don't have a men's team, so they called the women's team and said, "Hey, do you think anybody can do this?" Coach said, "I think somebody might be okay at this. Let me call this person up." Sarah was getting ready, packing to go back to Texas, where she's from. His semester was over for her. And she was like, "Yeah, I think I can." He asked, "Have you ever kicked the ball before?" She goes, "Yeah, I kicked the ball. I think I can do this." Goes in, tries out for the team. They say, "Yeah, cool. We'll have you Saturday." So this was Monday or Tuesday. She comes out and then kicks off on a Saturday. The amount of pressure that must have been for her, knowing that she's one of the first ever to play in FBS period. And then to come in and knowing that if she messes this up, it's going to look really bad because she's got tons and tons of attention on her. She came out and was a badass, did a good job the next week. And she 100% could be building a full business from just this opportunity alone. I don't think she understands that yet either.
It's incredible. I got to mention this. My grandmother scored over 100 points in a basketball game, and she was a bucket. And if you look at this article, this is from the Oregonian, but I love some of these lines. And she played her 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade year. And then the OSAA said she couldn't play anymore. But it talks about no coaches called her. She grew up 7 years too early before Facebook, YouTube, recruiting services. She'd never played in college. It's an incredible story, but her scoring totals read like an Oregon winter forecast: 32, 35, 41, 42, 48, 50. Occasionally her totals reach spring levels like the 56 she put up against St. Mary's or the 63 against Coburg. She is once reputed to have scored 104 against Santa Clara, a point total that reportedly put her in Ripley's Believe It or Not. This line right here is amazing. I don't know if it's politically correct anymore, but it says in the Eugene Registered Guard in February of 1930, the star forward sinks baskets faster than most girls can burn biscuits, and she won't be guarded. I thought that's a great line right there.
It's a great line for 1930. You definitely can't
1930s.
say that.
Nowadays, I don't think you could say that and get away with it. But in the 1930s, she was a pioneer. She was ahead of her time. And what made me think of this and bringing this up right now is because her junior year, she came in and the boys coach, so the loss of one of his best players, Vida's boys coach, Lyon Lawrence, hatched the idea of replacing Groff with Gladys Minnie. News of the bold coaching spread like wildfire, and the Lane County tournament had a swing firestorm. They wouldn't let her. The other coaches, she came in, the first game, she scored a lot of points, and the other team's coaches were like, you can't have a woman, you can't have a girl playing on the boys teams. And so they didn't let her play. And she didn't even play her junior or senior year because the OSAA came in and said you only get 4 years to play. They didn't have that rule when she was in 7th and 8th grade. And they came in and said you only get to play 4 years as an athlete. You don't get to play 6 years. So pretty amazing story. That's what I credit my basketball love to. I credit it to what's happening here? I credit my basketball love to my grandmother, which is not something a lot of guys can say. But that's pretty incredible. Her totals read like a spring forecast, sometimes reaching winter levels, 56.
That is crazy.
Right? That's a crazy story. People don't believe it until I pull that article up. But
and to me, 1930 is a whole different world than now. But today, like, let's say that happens today, that's a business. She would have hundreds of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. She'd be like, there's athletes like Paige Becker's going into, who's playing at UConn now. I think she only had like 2 games. She's got 620,000 followers on Instagram. That's a legitimate business. She should be making high 6 figures next year when this opens up. But even like, Grams comes in and okay, you're not going to say those lines about her now, but like, faster than a biscuit burner or something, like that's a t-shirt and you sell it. Again, you can't do that now, but let's say that was, whatever the lines are, like, I think it's as simple as some of that, like a line like that, to be able to start creating a merch line or just a one-off t-shirt and make a few $1,000 off of it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't know that.
Make a couple thousand. I sold t-shirts in college for our pub crawl. I put all the bars on the crawl on the back of the shirt for $100. And you don't want to be the only bar that doesn't put your name on the back of the pub crawl t-shirts. I had a yellow sign that said student crossing, and it had a student on all 4s crossing the street, obviously intoxicated. And I sold them for $10.
Yeah.
And I made that night, I was buying everybody's drinks. You got a t-shirt that you bought from me, free beer. It was a nice little business venture. None of it was because of my name, image, or likeliness, but you get a quote, like I saw, was it Northwestern football or?
Yeah.
That had that quote that came out, and they just used that as momentum.
Yep. So Joey Galloway, who's a former NFL guy, elite player at Ohio State, great player when I was growing up, and he's now an analyst for ESPN. And Reese Davis was talking to him, and it was 3 weeks ago before the Northwestern-Wisconsin game. Northwestern was ranked higher, but an underdog. And Joey Galloway was like, you know what? Truthfully, I just see a bunch of Reese Davises out there, and they just ran with it. And it was like a calling thing all week. Like, the guys, the team, and they were mic'd up. They're like, we're just a bunch of Reese Davises out here. And they're like, what's up, Reese Davis? And then it's the coach is like, Reese Davis, blah, blah, blah. So they ran with this whole deal. They made a video behind it. Then they go out and they beat Wisconsin. At the end, Pat Fitzgerald, the head coach, is like, and we did it with a bunch of Reese Davises. And it was like, everyone,
That was awesome.
And then Breaking Tea, which is a t-shirt company, came out with a shirt that said "Fighting Reese Davises" in purple and black, which is their colors. But that's like, to me, that's something exactly. That's how you take a concept, some random concept, you build content around it. That all week was that was their content. They had this really great piece at the end, and then come out with a t-shirt or merch. And obviously, wasn't them connected, but just how an athlete could do that. That stuff happens all the time, where it's a one-off type niche thing that you could run with on top of building and being consistent with content.
It's like Sarah Fuller, she kicks like a girl, or like.
Well, so she there's a nonprofit called I Play Like a Girl, or maybe it's Play Like a Girl, but the website is iplaylikeagirl.com, and it's teenagers or maybe even early 20-year-olds who mentor younger athletes, younger girls, essentially. And it's like, do cool things, do great things. She had on the back of her helmet was I play like a girl.org. And so she like what she did, I wish we could talk to them and see what their numbers were. I'm sure went through the roof for this nonprofit. And I know she has become, since that has become a mentor, but she could 100% have done something like that. And that would have sold hundreds, if not thousands of t-shirts. You know what? She could just do that. Actually, I think she's done. She's done playing football. She's done soccer. She should do that.
She should. Strike while the iron's hot?
Yeah. Kick like a girl. And then she could have a give back to play like a girl, like a percentage of it. And that's the type of stuff that I think is low hanging fruit. Like you mentioned that at the beginning when we started talking, that's low hanging fruit, are those types of opportunities to continue to build businesses around. She could start leadership tours and mentoring young girls and start camps and all these other things, from just saying yes to I'm going to try this new sport on a big stage and then succeed in it.
I think that you can turn your passion into a profession. Now it's a lot easier to do that than it is to find a profession that meets your passion.
Yes. And think about, I don't know what happened to you when you were done with college, but I remember being done with college and I took an internship. I worked at University of Central Florida in the marketing department, and that was cool. I liked it, but I thought, I'm not a dude who sits around at a desk the rest of my life. How do I figure out something different? I obviously didn't have the opportunity for a name, image, likeness, and to start creating these things. And I knew I was going to play professionally. So it's like, I don't care if you're a walk-on football player like I was at Bowling Green. I could still be working around football. You can work around basketball. You can create these opportunities around the sport you give a damn about because you're in the sport right now as a college athlete. Like I talked to Tulane. I was on a panel for Tulane's entire athletic department, 300 athletes, 50 coaches, admin and all that stuff. And one person that asked a question, we did a Q&A at the end. One was from a golfer. And he was like, we don't get forget his words, but we don't get the views or something like that. We don't get the recognition that the basketball team does. How can I build a brand myself? And I was like, well, what do you want to do? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be like a golf influencer? Are you trying to put out some golf tees? Are you trying to be a knowledgeable person in that space? I say golf, I meant tennis. Are you trying to put out like tennis programs? Like start creating, maybe his thing, and I don't know what his thing was because he had a private account. So I told him, first of all, get off private. Second of all, what do you want to do? If it's like, let's say he has a great backswing, like how can you teach me how to do this backswing? That's so great. And show me the proper steps and take me through drill work and then go on and go talk to people who would actually care about this stuff. Go on the big tennis IG accounts, because there are lots of them. Go on the high school team accounts. Be involved in the conversations you want to be involved in that are directly impacting your market. So I don't care. Yes, it's easier for Zion Williamson and Trevor Lawrence. Like those are easy things to do, but on down the line, it works for all of us.
I think if you're able to build it, they will come. I don't know if Pont's never seen the movie Field of Dreams. So
unfortunately, I have not.
You got to see that one. You haven't seen it either? Okay. Where if you build, they will come. And it's like this voice, this voice that he hears and he thinks he's going crazy out in the cornfields of Iowa.
Yeah.
But if you build it, they will come. And you got to build your brand before you need it, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that makes sense per se to everybody, but what I'm trying to say is you got to work while you wait. Success is when preparation meets opportunity. So putting content out there that you'd want your future employer to see. So, because same thing with a player, high school player, like you said, you kind of got started recruiting, helping high school kids get recruited. Yeah. If a kid puts out crap content 3 years ago, and then their senior year has all this good stuff, I'm going to look back and try to find out what they were like earlier. So you got to start putting stuff out there in your feeds that you would want a future employer to see, or a sponsor that's going to sponsor you that says, oh, in 2018, they posted this really good content.
Yeah. So
I think build it before you need it.
Yeah. And I think you said build it, and if you build it, they will come. If it's quality enough, they will come. Just because you throw something on doesn't necessarily mean they will. But you're right. They've got to know that you offer this, or this is a thing you do. And if you, again, like I said earlier, 99.9% of the athletes are putting out the same stuff. So how do I even know that you know anything about basketball? Just because you play basketball doesn't mean you could teach someone basketball. I mean, we all know that. And just because you were a kicker in football doesn't mean I should follow your kicking program or whatever your thing is. It needs to make sense, and you can start. That's the type of stuff you can start building for. Do you want to be like I was talking about the tennis player? Do you want to be someone to have people follow your programs? Do you want to go on speaking engagements across the country? Do you want to just be someone who tries out the best tennis equipment and rates it and ranks it on a YouTube show? Do whatever you want to do. You could, but start building for those opportunities you want to have at the end. Because if you're just like, I just throw up a practice pic of me playing soccer, like, great. If I'm not friends with you, there's no reason for me to really care about you. You know, there's thousands upon thousands of other athletes that I could be building a relationship with. Relationship meaning following and consuming your content. Why should I care about you more than anybody else? And why should I follow what you have to say?
How do you respond to that, Pont? Why should the people watching this podcast understand? What should they understand about Mississippi Do? What should they appreciate about you? What can you do to help you? What can you say? Speak to that.
Well, as an individual that's, trying to put yourself out there and trying to build a brand upon yourself, which honestly anybody should. I mean, even outside of the realm of college sports, anybody can do that and can produce content that is fire, as the people say today. But I mean, I think through those things, like, for example, Mississippi Do, for example, this podcast, for example, essentially all I'm big on TikTok right now. Everything that I put out there, all the content that you put out should be basically explaining yourself through the content. So people should be able to see your content and say, hey, first of all, this is who this person is. And second of all, hopefully they don't think you're an a-hole from the content that you put out. You know what I mean? Hopefully you're putting out good content that is really engaging, that's getting people to follow you. From that, you're building upon your brand. So I think your content should really be able to exemplify who you are as a person for the better.
Agree. I was trying to look up, see if I can see Mississippi Do on TikTok. Is there something to create through a Mississippi Do song on TikTok?
Yeah, so we have actually
Talk to him about that.
Very happy that you asked. So we're doing right now, started about a week ago or so. We're doing a Mississippi Do challenge. Actually, we already had a page with 2 million followers who did it. He participated in it. Mississippi Do challenge. You use the sound Mississippi Do by Lil Pont and Agente Uno. You make a video. Some people have been doing dance videos. Some people have been doing, honestly, really random videos. I don't know where people are getting these ideas, but I love it. I love to see the creative juices flowing. But and then the person with the best video by New Year's, when the clock strikes 12, gets $1,000. So that's what we got going on right now.
I'm gonna get in there. But that's what I was gonna say is, all right, so you put out music. The first thing you should, if you're putting out music, you need to have a TikTok associated with it today. And then what I would be doing, like, I talked to a guy who it's more of a, like, it felt like the vibe of a hype video, a highlight tape. And I said I would be DMing all of these college and pro athletes and saying, hey, feel free to use my music, take this, run with it, that sort of deal. Because those are the people that are going to help spread it. Same thing like a TikTok, you put it out there, have a couple important people with the 2 million follower person you're talking about, and some other people, use it, do it, have fun with it. And then I would be reposting all of those too.
Absolutely. Yep. Just trying to get everything out there as much as possible. I mean, if like you kind of alluded to earlier, like if you don't put it out there and if you don't alert people of it, I mean, you could drop the most fire song in the whole entire world. And if you don't market it correctly, then it's just going to go to waste.
Yeah.
Was that the 2 million followers was the guy that did the, like, multiple pictures of him? That was good.
That was awesome. His name's Cale Brown. He is an amazing person. He's a great guy and he's a great TikToker. So he made a super, super incredible video.
I would reach out to some other TikTok people. Reach out to them, or people, maybe not the Charlie DeMellos of the world, the massive, but reach out to people. Say, hey, we'd love to see what you do. We'd love to see you create to this song and blah, blah, blah. because that's how if they do it one time, that's all it's got to happen to make something really pop.
That's right. Absolutely. So we've been reaching out, and hopefully, more people pick up on it. And hey, it's a good song.
It's catchy. It's very catchy.
Absolutely. Everybody's saying it's going to be the next Old Town Road. I'm like, no, it's going to be the first Mississippi Do.
There you go. Well, even Old Town Road, that story. It's not like that came out. Wasn't that out for months or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was out for quite a while, and then it just
maybe even a year. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. His whole story is great. If you ever look into how he got started, and he just kind of would mess around on Twitter, and he put out a bunch of memes, and then came out with that song and popped.
Who did that one? Who do the research on who?
Oh my God,
Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X guy.
That's who did that one.
Yep.
Yeah, he's massive. Lil Nas X is massive now, and a year and a half ago, he was just a 19-year-old kid, dropping out of college.
It's unreal.
But super talented, and there's so many super talented people that never pop for whatever reason. It's either on them or they just didn't do a good job of marketing it, or whatever they were trying to do. They didn't get in front of the right people. And we got Lil Nas X was super active on Twitter. Something popped, and then it popped. And now he's on this crazy level.
Yeah, it takes something. It took him 19 years to become an overnight success.
Sure, yeah.
And people think it's instantaneous, but it's all the work that he did leading up to that to make that fire. It wasn't like he hadn't been practicing and doing the work and all that and just decided, day one, I'm going to do this, and it popped. It was, He was planning and working, and obviously took off. Not took off enough that I know who he is, but I have seen Jerry Maguire. Still hasn't seen Jerry Maguire. So I say,
you're young though.
The money.
When that probably came out when he was, he might not have been born.
I was born in
1999. He wasn't, or I was in 7th grade. I was 13. Probably came out in the late 90s.
Yeah,
wasn't born.
I don't think I could watch that. I cannot go back and watch old movies.
Jerry Maguire I saw the other day, and it was just as good. When Tom Cruise is yelling, "Show me the money," and he's got Cuba Gooding Jr., and he's like, "I'm gonna hang up on you. I'm gonna hang up on you. Show me the money." It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time, Pat.
Of course, fellas. Appreciate you guys asking me.
Yeah, no, it was fun, man. So much good knowledge there, and a lot of help for us. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
Here's how we end this thing. We always end it the same way. We say, if you're gonna walk
on.
Let's go.
Walk on Nation.
Here we go. Walk on Frat.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you.